Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our remote access with Odo session for today. Just to introduce ourselves before we dive into the slides, um, my name is Eitan Segal, and I'm with Checkpoint's product management, and I have here with me today Noah. Noah?
Hi, everybody. My name is Noah Zilberman. I'm one of the co-founders of Odo Security. I was running product there and now joining Aiton's team to um, do the SASE offering of Checkpoint. So glad to join and happy to be here.
Okay, great. So, hello again, and let us begin. We're going to be talking about remote access today. Actually, we're going to be talking about how we can help customers onboard really easy remote access and why that's important and how we can do that securely and how Odo fits into our broader SASE vision. Um, Before we begin, a lot of you that are here today probably noticed that we made an announcement last week. So just to kind of, those of you who didn't quite catch what we announced, Checkpoint last week announced that we acquired a company. The company's name is Odo Security. Essentially, built a really nice remote access as a cloud service capability that we really like. We like it because it's really, really simple to deploy. It gives clientless connectivity, easy for users to use, very strong zero trust network access baked into the entire platform. And we are looking to make Odo very quickly part of our SASE solution. We'll be talking a bit later on what SASE actually means, what it means for us, what's our vision, and how Odo actually fits into that. But really, the bulk of this session will be talking about what it actually is and how we can help you guys boost up your remote access and modernize it. So that was just a quick intro. One more thing, maybe before I dive in, we're going to have some, this will show you the product. We'll also be showing you a live demo of the product. So if you like demos, Noah's going to show us a nice, very useful demo. If you want to see what it actually looks like, feels like, then stay for the demo that comes towards the end. We'll also be talking about the roadmap, how you're going to be able to buy it, how we're going to integrate it, and all of that. So towards the end, we'll also be discussing that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about remote access. We're in COVID times, and a lot of people in these times are working remotely. You've all noticed it, and the world's noticed it. Actually, Gartner put out last month a research called Remote Workers Forecast. They forecast what's the pattern going to be for remote work while there's the pandemic, but also what's going to happen after the pandemic is behind us. And what they say is by 2024, 3 years from now, after the pandemic will have subsided, remote workers will represent 30% of all employees worldwide. They also say that COVID-19 has broken through the previous reluctance that enterprises have had in adopting remote workers. And we actually see this reflected in many customers we talk to. There's a change of perception, a strategic change in perception on adopting remote access that's kind of been accelerated through the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to actually make a prediction that goes, that gets pretty accurate. And you can see here also how many total people. You can see that it fluxed at the beginning of the first 2 quarters this year when most of the world went into the lockdown, or maybe I should say the first lockdown. Here in Israel, by the way, we're now already in the second lockdown because we've lost control again. But still, there's an assumption here that COVID will disappear sometime during 2021, but the effect on it has had on remote work will stay with us. So after this levels out, it will be more than double the levels that we saw before 2020, so in 2019. And what we see in the shift towards remote work and the strategic perception that organizations have on remote work is just part of a bigger picture of IT transformation. The transformation, first of all, has been taking place, and it continues to take place on how we run our applications and our IT in general. So the applications that until a few years ago used to reside in data centers, well-defined data centers, are now dispersed. They are distributed. More and more you'll find them in infrastructure as a service, in SaaS, and they're just scattered around in many more places. Many people use internet applications. Remote users obviously are another element of IT becoming much more distributed. And finally, branch offices, another element of connectivity in IT, recognizing that applications are no longer residing in a well-defined, distinct data center, are going and shifting to direct access to the internet and using SD-WAN and adopting all of that. These are major changes in IT that bring with them major changes in security challenges. We see that managing your security stack when you need to apply security to your new hyper-distributed organization becomes more complex. Also, by the way, when you start consuming IT as a service, you want to consume security as a service, and this is another factor that's kicking in pretty strongly. Next, when all of your users are scattered, your attack surface grows. It grows significantly. And finally, when you allow users and when you allow offices to connect directly to the cloud, you're increasing risk. That direct access inherently increases the risk. You're no longer hauling traffic through those security gateways with all the security stack that you build. How do you retain security in a distributed environment? And that's a challenge, and that's really a broader challenge than what we're going to talk about today. That's a challenge that our SASE solution and vision is addressing. We're going to focus today on the center pillar over there, the remote access part of the story. And when we look at this big change that has been accelerated by COVID-19, but is here to stay, we need to really rethink remote access. We need to look for solutions that will adapt to cloud environments, to applications that reside in cloud environments, to cloud environments that move from place to place very quickly. We need something that will scale very easily, especially in a world where we understand that users are sometimes forced to work remotely because there is some lockdown or shutdown. But it's really true for any IT system. You really want the ability for it to auto-scale. You want it to be user-friendly, of course, and you want to be able to deploy it really, really quickly. And you want something that's going to help you connect essentially from anywhere, anyone, to the applications they need access to. And finally, you want a solution, a remote access solution, that will provide you zero trust network access, also known as ZTNA. Now, that's a bit of a buzzword that's caught on in the past 2 years, but it's important, it's fundamental. What zero trust network access means is that we can no longer depend on the fact that the user is in a location or the fact that an application is a location and build security based on, say, IP addresses, because the users are moving around, their devices are changing, and the applications are moving around. And you really want to connect the entities at a kind of layer 7. Who's the user? What's the device? What's the application they're connecting to? And how can you control that very well? How can you blacken your data center, not let anyone or anything touch it, and still give users granular access to the applications they need and gain the visibility you need into what's going on in the system and application levels of visibility. And that's what zero trust network access is trying to address. And that's why it's so important. In fact, it's so important that in Gartner's research from April of this year, it's called Cost Effectively Scaling Secure Access While Preparing for a Remote Workforce. Now, they chose that name And they mentioned ZTNA in like the 3 key points. So ZTNA, Zero Trust Network Access. And Gartner recommend that you favor vendors that offer Zero Trust Network Access as a service from the cloud, as these are easier to deploy. I couldn't agree more. They use a service, they ask that you use a service-initiated ZTNA product that can be deployed without requiring agents, so agentless or clientless technology, and they recommend that you confirm that your Zero Trust Network Access vendor has the capacity to scale. Interestingly, Odo, the company we've just acquired, is a perfect match to everything that Gartner
I wonder why that is, Eitan. I wonder why that is.
Did you read the
Interestingly
Gartner
enough.
report and then build your company?
Don't tell anyone.
Okay. But regardless of what Gartner say or think, I think there's something fundamental here, and that is really that the shift to the cloud, the shift of IT into something that's more agile and more distributed, and the shift of organizations to lean more and more on a remote workforce requires us to rethink how we do remote access, to modernize it. And that's why we chose Odo to help us address the remote access need of our customers. So Odo, as I mentioned earlier, is going to become part of Check Point's Secure Access Service Edge. We call that SASE. That's another Gartner term. Check Point, in Check Point's world, we talk about CloudGuard Connect. That's the product family that this is going to become part of. For now, we're calling it in this session Odo. It's very new. It's less than a week old under the Check Point umbrella. The name Odo, unfortunately for you, Noah, will probably go away. And we'll stay with a Check Point name, but it's a nice name. Anyway, with that, let's talk about a bit about Odo, and Noah, maybe I'll transfer it to you.
Sure.
And you can share your slides. Okay.
Okay, cool. So, hey everyone, like I mentioned before, my name is Noah Zilberman. I was running product at Odo and now in Eitan's team promoting the SASE offering. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about Odo / unknown name and what we are doing. So let's start by focusing on the 3 main advantages of our solution. So like Eitan mentioned, we are a ZTNA, a Zero Trust Network Access platform that is highly user-friendly, high on security, and that's a massive offering there as well, and is deployed as a cloud service, which means that it's infinite scale and very easy to use and deploy. So let's start with the first advantage, the fact that we're user-friendly, and this is actually especially important now in COVID-19 times. So bottom line, we're clientless completely, nothing to install on the end device, nothing to install on the end machine. You can just set us up and start using immediately. You don't need to roll out anything in the organization. That helps in 2 directions. The first one is the fact that users can actually connect from any device, be it a managed device, unmanaged device, laptop, smartphone. All of these are just working directly out of the box without the need to install anything. And from the other perspective is the fact that the access is done completely seamlessly. So accessing, for example, any web application through our platform is as easy as connecting to SaaS. So it would be like connecting to Gmail from your employee's perspective. They can connect either through the IDP dashboard from Odo's dashboard or directly through the URL for a bookmark, and they're completely unaware of where this resource sits. It can sit in the cloud, in your cloud, in your data center, or in the public internet. It doesn't matter, they don't care, and you shouldn't either. So if we're talking about use cases, then Odo focuses on 3 main ones. The first one being managed devices. So in that scenario, we essentially replace the VPN for specific access types, and for that we provide a much more user-friendly, simple, scalable, and significantly more secure solution than what companies currently have. The second use case may be particularly interesting for some of you here, especially in the COVID-19 times. That's the BYOD and contractors use case. So, for example, instead of issuing laptops to all of your employees for working from home, or issuing a device for a contractor that needs to sign in so it can be managed and have a client on it, with Odo's clientless solution, you can simply connect them directly to the system without the need to actually manage the device. Again, user-friendliness, segmentation, that there are some main advantage in that specific use case. And last but not least is the engineering access, DevOps and developers. So like Satya Nadella said, every company is now a software company, and companies running massive workloads in the cloud. That's a big undertaking for us. We will have a separate webinar on that specific use case, but just in a nutshell, we do sync with AWS tags, for example, integrating and fetching dynamic instances, providing built-in privileged access management, and so on. So stay tuned for that. Now, the second is probably my favorite, the Zero Trust Security and what we're doing there. So Odo's architecture is very special, not just in the industry, but specifically in the ZTNA space. So based on the SDP, the software-defined perimeter architecture, we have two planes, as we call it. The control plane. This is the brains behind this architecture. This is where access decisions are made, where authentication is made, and authorization. And then you have the data plane, where the traffic flows through and is blocked unless authorized, which in that case is being transferred all the way to the right data center, to the right application. From the user standpoint, as we mentioned, nothing installed on the end device. And from your data center point of view, all you need to deploy is this connector component. It's essentially a container running on any machine that runs Docker. You set it up through a simple Docker run command, and in less than 1 minute, you have the connector installed, and everything is then being set up automatically. The connector connects on an outbound connection to our data plane. So this means that no need to, for any inbound connection, no need to open your data center, everything, just a few IP addresses or a few ports for outbound connectivity only. And since it runs on any machine running Docker, it's completely infrastructure agnostic and can run literally anywhere, on any VPC, on any on-prem environment, literally any machine running Docker. It's important to note that this connector is not an agent. It doesn't sit on each one of your machines. You only need one of those for each one of your data centers, and it's super easy deployment, so you can connect any data center literally in minutes. And maybe, two just for high availability, or you can scale it up as you wish. And in that case, you have built-in load balancing. So everything is already boxed and configured, so all you need to do is just run a simple command and start working. The flow goes like this, and it may look complicated, but I can assure you it's completely transparent for the end user. That's all happening behind the scenes with zero latency, so you would see in the demo. Pretty sure you'd be surprised. So the user first authenticates to the control plane. The control plane then verifies the user identity with those types of integration. For example, any IDP, credentials, device, location, MFA, and then returns to the user the list of available applications. These applications were determined by the system administrator in the control plane and are dynamically provisioned. It's a unified view for all the different available apps from those different data centers. And these are just the ones that this user is allowed to access. Any other application, it would not appear here and would also be blocked on the way. The controller also constantly communicates with the data plane, with the gateways, to inform of any change in access permissions. So we provide you with real-time session termination. in case access decisions and access permissions have been changed. Now, when a user tries to perform an access request, if it's authorized, or in any case, it would be routed all the way to the data plane. If it's authorized, it will go along all the way and be routed all the way to the right data center, to the right application. And if it's not, it would be dropped here. So there will actually not be any inside connection once you're blocked here, making your network completely blackened. The user will not be aware of whether the resource he requested access to actually exists, because in any case, the access request will be blocked here on our gateway. To summarize the security advantages, start with least privileged access. So we create a dynamic segment for the user, and any other resource is completely unavailable for that user. So it's not traditional segmentation. You don't need to create VLANs or security groups. This is from the user perspective. So it could be completely dynamic. Each user has his own different applications, and they do not affect one another. It's not static segmentation, it's per user. Separation of duties. This means that we create full segmentation between the control plane and the data plane. It doesn't sit together alongside on the same machine, making the user authenticate to the same place where data is stored. The fact that you have this separation means that users are fully authenticated and authorized before ever being granted access inside. The third one is what makes us special even within the ZTNA products, which is the fact, the way we're architected. So what we actually did here in Odo is we moved the awareness of the protocol from the user device to our data plane. This allows for two things. First, the fact that we're clientless, this is how we're doing it. And secondly, with this set of identity and protocol aware proxies that sit on our cloud, we actually are able to decrypt and encrypt the data so that we can give you full audit log of everything that's happening inside the network. Every single web request, every SSH log, every RDP access, everything that is also done within the application. We also do key management built in. We also can block commands in real time. So we have some really cool capabilities due to the way we're architected. From your standpoint, you can think of it as we took the heavy lifting from your side and just took it to our cloud to make everything super convenient for you and just compensate it with really deep technology. The fourth thing is the data center blackening. So as I mentioned, we don't have any inbound connections whatsoever to your data center, only outbound, which means that your data center is blackened. It shouldn't receive any traffic from the outside world, making it essentially invisible to anyone trying to access it from the public internet. So I mentioned the visibility. So here is just a little taste of what we're doing, and I'll also cover it in the demo. So this is the example for the full audit trace that we provide for web access. So here you can see every request that the user did, every get, every post with additional metadata, and you can obviously filter and search there. And then we have the recorded sessions for SSH and RDP. You can view everything that has been done within the session and investigate properly. And we have the fact that we're a cloud service. So as you saw, the control plane and the data plane are hosted in the cloud. So it's important to note that this is not your deployment. This is where we are hosted. So it's completely transparent to you. But the fact that we're cloud hosted allows for first, infinite scale. You can scale up and down. Let's say now, with COVID-19, everyone are going to work at home. You can scale it up. Everyone are returning to the office. You can scale it down. We're infinite scale. And also, we're able to deploy in literally minutes. So the only actual setup that you need to do within your data center is, as we mentioned, the Docker deployment. And really, usually the responses we get there is, that's it. People don't actually believe it can be that easy. And then from the cloud standpoint, what you need to do in the management portal is connect your IDP. This is an optional step. You can also use our local directory. But if you choose to connect your identity provider, we have some very seamless integrations in that sense. And then define your applications. So in order to add an application to the system, all you need to do is just know its internal IP or DNS and add it to the system, either manually through API, or we also have some integrations in that sense that we can automatically discover your resources. After doing that, just start providing access permissions, and your users can literally start in a few minutes, and it's really easy. Yeah, looking forward to the demo. Aiton will take it from here now, and stay tuned. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Noah. And over to just wrap things up before we see the demo and see Odo in action. As I mentioned at the beginning, Odo is going to be a part of a bigger platform that we're building. That's our CloudGuard Connect platform, which is at the center of our Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE vision. So we shared some of this information a few weeks ago. I'll just go over it very briefly to give you the kind of broader picture of how what we're doing with Odo fits into the bigger security as a service or network security as a service capability that we're building, and what we're aiming to do, what's available already, and what's going to be coming down the road. So at the center, we have CloudGuard Connect. It's our cloud service, our cloud firewall as a service fabric with all of Checkpoint's security stack and networking stack in it. Essentially built as a one-point service that enables you to securely connect either your users or your offices, your branch offices, to whichever applications they need, or to go to the internet or to SaaS applications. Now, each of these use cases, internet, SaaS applications, and your corporate applications, is a slightly different use case with different emphasis on the security we apply. But these are the use cases, and we aim to deliver all of this. We launched CloudGuard Connect about a year ago, and we've started rolling out elements piece by piece. So we rolled out the office connectivity. I'll talk about that soon, but we're talking today about Odo. The way Odo fits into CloudGuard Connect is by connecting remote users to applications. Your application can reside on your corporate network, they can reside in your own data center, or they can reside in a public data center, infrastructure as a service such as Amazon or Microsoft's or Google's. And Odo bring all of this access with their zero trust technology and all the capabilities Noah showed earlier, but actually we're going to do more on the remote access. This is a remote access scenario. We're going to do more than just Odo over there. We're adding also a VPN client, and I'll talk about that soon. So there'll be the clientless access, which we'll do with the technology that we've acquired through Odo. And we'll have also VPN-based access, which will address some of the other use cases that customers sometimes have, such as connecting from fat clients, applications, and things like that. So that VPN is still more suitable for. Essentially, what we're doing with CloudGuard Connect as a security platform that's built as a unified cloud service. We're taking a lot of the capabilities that we've built over the years and field tested and proven over the years. So our next generation firewall, all of our advanced threat prevention that's being tested time and again by NSS Labs and recommended time and again by NSS Labs. Our email security, our secure web gateway capabilities, so all the URL filtering and anti-phishing and malware prevention, our data loss prevention, all of those are capabilities that we've built perfected, and now we're unifying them as a cloud service at the center of this platform. In fact, there are about 11 distinct capabilities that are going to be unified as one consolidated service, and that's what we're working on. For the remote users, as I mentioned earlier, you can come either from managed or unmanaged devices. Typically for managed devices, you may want VPN connectivity or Odo connectivity or clientless connectivity and zero trust access. And for unmanaged devices, for the most part, it will be clientless access with zero trust security attached to that. Being able to connect from any device, be it mobile or PC, accelerating the internet access. And we actually do this by the fourth element over here, which is our browser protection. This is a browser extension. Some of you may have seen it. It's actually a capability we've had for a while as part of our endpoint suite, but actually here we're attaching it to our cloud network security and looking at our ability to embed security in the browser as an extension to our network security that actually can be enforced directly in the browser, gives us a lot of power to actually delegate some of that security to the edge where the user is actually performing or browsing the internet. This mainly addresses the internet access and gives us better SSL visibility and gives us also the ability to direct traffic directly to the internet when we can enforce the same level of security on the endpoint. On the offices side, our strategy is to integrate with SD-WAN vendors. That's where we emphasize the most. You can connect to our cloud essentially from any router, but what we're focusing mostly is on partnering, and we've partnered with all leading SD-WAN vendors and with Microsoft Azure for some of their backbone, and our cloud resides within AWS and Azure, and being able to connect offices, again, securely to the internet, and coming soon, connect them also back to your data center applications. So that's in a nutshell the broader SASE vision and productization that we're focusing on. This is a major, major strategy for Checkpoint and where Odo fits into the bigger picture of what we're working on delivering. So CloudGuard Connect's available today. Odo is going to be available for us to sell, for our customers to buy within about 3 weeks. We're making a few minor changes and rebranding. Initially, it will be a separate platform, Odo's platform, rebranded as Checkpoint, but commercially we'll sell it already as part of CloudGuard Connect. And at some point at the beginning of next year, and this is right now the task of our engineering that's working on CloudGuard Connect and of Odo's engineering, is to integrate the two so it will be an integral part with one management, one policy, one place where you view all of your logs and reports. So all of that's going to take place over the coming months, and we'll start rolling that out at the beginning of next year. Hopefully, and I have here my disclaimer, sometimes our plans do change. In the coming weeks, we'll provide some of the commercial details and additional resources and training. And before we move on to Noah's demo, those of you who will see the demo or will not see the demo, who want a private demo, who want a free trial, who want to POC this, head to checkpoint.com/demos. You scroll down and you'll see the CloudGuard Zero Trust Access with the purple Odo logo on it. Choose it. There's a short form, and we'll get back to you to coordinate how we can move forward. So if you're interested to try this out in your environment or get your own private demo, then please follow up with this. Okay, so the part at least I've been waiting for. Noah, can we see your demo?
Yes, of course. Been working hard to answer some of the questions. So Eitan, please take over. There are quite a lot, and hopefully I'll be able to cover some at least in the demo.
Stop asking.
No, continue asking. This is
Yes,
good.
and ask along.
Ask along. Okay, so the moment we've all been waiting for. So, as I promised, everything is web-based, super accessible and easy. The authentication can be done, like I mentioned, either locally, where you would have a username and password, or through your IDP, where you could also add any MFA, device, location, and any other authentication mechanisms. Once the user is authenticated, he's being directed to this nice looking portal where he can see essentially his network. This is where the user is supposed to live. This is his access permissions, and this is supposed to be everything that he needs within the network. So we have the option to manage different folders, and here you get the unified view of access alongside. We currently just have one data center here, but you would get different data centers. You can filter by that, but you can see everything unified. And that's a part of the idea. You don't need side-to-side VPNs. You don't need it. It's not one of the questions that I just answered was how is it not going to the public internet? How is it not routed through Odo? Because we're not a VPN. We're not routing your traffic to a specific data center and everything is connected there. We're a zero trust platform. This means that we only route the traffic to the specific application that you requested. And if there are multi-data centers, no worries, we will connect you to each one of those simultaneously. So for example, for web access, it's a bit underwhelming maybe, but that's just because it's so simple. It looks like I just connected to a SaaS platform. We also do SSO bridging. So if I click on login, I will be automatically authenticated to Jenkins. Everything just works very seamlessly and easy. And this is, and I'm going to prove it, this is an internal Jenkins. It's hosted within my own data center. It's not a SaaS application. RDP access is browser-based. And here you can also see our PAM kicking in. You can see that I actually didn't provide any username and password. This is a part of our key and password management offering that we can dive deeper into the next webinar that we're having. Very seamless. Everything works just really fast and easy. And from here, you can also, by the way, since it's browser-based, you could also have it as a part of your IDP dashboard. So you can have it just as a tile within your identity provider. We allow for file share and clipboard, but we can also allow you to restrict it on any RDP server. For SSH access, we actually have two methods of authenticating, and here also we have the PAM behind the scenes. It's not mandatory, the PAM, but it is a cool feature. If I copy the command and the password, I'm automatically inside the server. So I can do really whatever. And just connect it directly. There was another question if you can connect from native client, and the answer is yes. We also have the option of a more long-term access token, access key. We also have database access and tunneling over SSH. So this is how it looks like from a user perspective. Again, super seamless and easy to use. And now let's look at the admin dashboard. So here you get a map, a site of all your locations around the world, just a little snapshot of what's going on within the system. By the way, a site is what we call a data center. So it's a virtual representation of any data center holding one or more connectors. And here you get your different applications across the system. So let me go to the Jenkins, for example. So if I go to the details, and there I promised you proof. If I take the internal address, you can see here that I have an internal address and external. The internal address, I would just get timed out because it's not open to the public internet. It's not a SaaS platform, it's hosted. If I take this URL, which is the Odo issued one, I am able to connect. And the only reason is that I have access permissions. If I go back to my access permissions and remove my access, I'm a part of the product team. what actually happens behind the scenes is really interesting. I just made a change in the controller, in the actual SaaS platform, permissions change. The controller, like I mentioned, has constant communication with the gateway. So it notifies the gateway of that change, and there from my next connection, I will be blocked when trying to access Jenkins as I don't have the access permissions anymore. If I go to the portal, my Jenkins would obviously disappear. But if I also I obtain the URL in some way, I'm automatically blocked. I'm unable to access the server. And this is a part of the least privileged access. Once you were denied access, you will not be able to access this resource anymore. From a team perspective, the groups and users are all imported from your IDP. So as I mentioned, you have the option to manage it locally. You also have the option to connect your identity provider. Users and groups. For users, by the way, specifically in the contractors use case, we also have the option to limit access time by date. And the activity log, which is pretty awesome. We have some cool features over here, like I mentioned. So for the SSH, you can view my entire session, everything I did within the server. Again, seamless and easy, including my typos. For RDP, you can see my not so interesting session and everything that I did there within the server. And for web access, you could see my full audit log and again, everything I did within Jenkins in that specific use case. We also have some really cool features, some configurations, IP access lists, for example. These are the list of integrated IDPs, the option to configure user session. For the DevOps use case, and again, this is not a part of, it's not within the scope, but we do have an AWS integration that allows you to sync. This is currently a small scale, but thousands of servers, and they're all managed with tags. So that would be application grouping. It allows you to manage things at scale. And there are some other cool stuff that we will not be touching as a part of this demo. So, oh, you know what? Let me just reshare this so you could all have visibility. If you want a demo, just please feel free to get into Checkpoint at demos and just ask for a demo. Our team will contact you and be happy to set you up with either a demo or free trial or anything of that sort. Question time?
Yeah, I think we can go over questions, and I can also start our poll. Those of you who are interested, very quick poll. I think there's like 4 very short questions in there. So question number 1, and we'll start going over the questions. There's a lot of questions, so I don't know if we'll cover all of them. But we're also going to be providing a lot more information going forward. Does Odo include its own identity management or MFA functionality? Noah, do you want to take that one?
Sure. The answer is yes. Like I mentioned, we have a local directory that you are able to manage users there, particularly good for example, contractors use case, where you don't want to tame your existing directory. We also have an MFA infrastructure. We do see most of the customers simply leveraging the MFA of their IDP, but if you want, you can also use our own integrated MFA.
Okay, could you present corporate network drives? So file shares, I presume Jason's asking about.
Yeah, that would probably be good request to do in a personalized demo.
Okay. What is the throughput capacity of a connector/gateway? I think it's mainly a connector issue, because the gateway is just our cloud. So connector.
Yeah, we can provide with the actual throughput, but generally speaking, we have customers uploading. You saw our integration. It's usually thousands of servers within one data center with one connector, and it's holding on perfectly fine. So we're not experiencing any issues there, but we can get back to you with the exact number.
Okay, and does it have single sign-on? Of course.
Yes, like we saw.
Okay, so we saw the single sign-on.
By the way, it's not just single sign-on to the platform. Like we saw, it's also can be single sign-on to, like we call it SSO bridging. So we can bridge it inside your actual app.
So single sign-on also to SSH and also to RDP,
right,
with key management that happens in the cloud. So it's not just basic SSO, and it's very powerful and very user-friendly. Does it work only with web apps? What if there are internal client-server applications involved?
So here, this would be a major part of the CloudGuard Connect integration. Then you would be able to, your employees would be able to use Odo for 99% of their work. And if they ever require a heavy or client-server application, they could use the agent client, install it, and just connect directly.
It's important, I think, just to add to that, it's important that we understand where's the sweet spot of this technology and where you want to use still VPN. Oh,
bless you. Hopefully it's not corona related.
It wasn't a dry cough. It wasn't a dry cough. I'm okay. Odo is clientless. It will work with web or with webified applications. It will work with SSH. It will work with RDP because we've built that in, and with database. Anything else, we'll add some more things in SSH tunneling, but really anything else, you'll probably want the sweet spot for anything else for a fat client is going to be our VPN to the cloud. And we're also going to be adding that component. It's going to be the same solution integrated with the same policy, the same application in portal.checkpoint.com under CloudGuard Connect. So there's some use cases where Odo's clientless technology shines, and there's some use cases where the VPN technology shines. What we do see, and I think that's what Noah was speaking about, is that really there are fewer and fewer fat client applications in use, and as you know, the world becomes more webified, more and more web. So for your legacy apps, you may find yourselves still needing to use a legacy VPN. And in which way is Odo different from Luminate?
Yeah, so actually,
acquired by Symantec, acquired by Broadcom, and don't know if we'll ever hear from them again, and founded by Checkpoint's veterans.
Yeah, so Luminate was the most similar product to us in the market. We do have some much more extensive take on engineering access, but generally speaking, now that we're a part of Checkpoint, this would be a whole different product suite that would be significantly bigger than anything a startup can build.
Yeah, so I think the Illuminate made a nice zero trust software-defined perimeter solution, and it's comparable. There wasn't the emphasis on kind of DevOps engineering access, but really I think the bigger play at question is really the SASE platform, the security platform, the threat prevention, and the connection back to branches and all of that we're integrating this. So that's really the bigger story that we're working towards. And can the Odo cloud decrypt application traffic from SaaS applications using certificate pinning like Office 365? I'll take that. Essentially, and this is important just to make the distinction, Odo's for remote access. It's not for going into Office 365 or to going into SaaS to your Salesforce. It's for accessing your own corporate apps that you're hosting. Normally, when on hosted apps, there isn't a problem of certificate pinning. So that's answer number one. The second answer to that is actually that being a reverse proxy, we may actually use the Odo reverse proxy technology to create a gateway into SaaS applications, but the reverse proxy doesn't have a problem with certificate pinning because it actually terminates the connection completely. It doesn't try to man in the middle of the connection. But that gets very, very technical, and I'm still not sure if and when we'll do that piece with the Odo technology. Is Azure AD authentication supported?
Yes, it does.
Okay, easy one. How is the client protected to surf not direct in internet? Zero trust. So again, the client protected to surf not direct in it. Again, we're not using Odo for internet access protection. If you're looking for internet access protection, you will need to connect your users to our cloud using our VPN client. Typically, that's something you'll do for your managed devices, or bring your own device, and typically you're not going to be able to enforce, or it's unlikely that you'll be able to enforce URL filtering on an unmanaged device. With that said, we are, as I mentioned earlier, also incorporating into the platform our browser extension capability. The browser extension does not require any VPN connectivity. It lives in the browser, and it has malware protection and URL filtering. So you'll be able to use the same URL filtering that you've built in the cloud and force it on users without actually forcing the users to go through the VPN, just with something very lightweight that sits in the browser. So that could address that portion. Okay, the difference between CloudGuard Connect and Infinity Next. Okay. So CloudGuard Connect is a SASE platform. This is already going into talking about more products. Infinity Next is really looking at interconnecting systems more than connecting users to applications. So it's more focused on end-to-end connection of systems, and also zone security within your cloud, zone-based security within your cloud. It's a slightly different approach, and not dealing with the more kind of classic use case of user accesses application, user accesses the internet, branch office accesses an application. It's more kind of securing and segmenting and micro-segmenting your cloud infrastructure and your IoT. Can you connect to NetScaler Gateway for access to client-server apps?
That should be tested. I would take it with your account manager to see specific integrations.
Okay, and can you connect to headless, non-user-based devices? What's a headless device?
I think that's like east-west. The answer is this is not where our focus lies, but we do have some customers using us for that use case. We have some integrations there. We have obviously the SSH access and all of those, but we also have, for example, programmatic access for web. So it really depends on the use case. This should be examined to the specific use case itself.
Okay, and there's many questions here. So to not make this completely tedious, I'm gonna maybe choose another 2 or 3, and we can go. I didn't forward my poll, did I? Or did I? Oh, we have all the answers to the poll.
By the way, there is a good question here. Can I access my on-premise SAP by Odo? I know that's probably a question that some of you have. So you can access SAP. There are some versions that are web-based. You can also open a SSH tunnel in the background, or do it using RDP, and this would be Odo's ways to access SAP. And if you do want the native experience as is, you would just use the CloudGuard Connect offering once we have that fully integrated.
Okay, let me see which ones we can wrap up with. Most of the SD-WAN vendors you are partnering with also have some sort of remote access solution. How does this fit alongside those solutions? How do you avoid direct competition with these partners for the remote access solution? Okay, that's a good question. I don't know how we'll avoid competition, but we partner and compete with them across the industry very often. I'm less concerned about that side. I can tell you why most of the remote access solutions I've seen that come from network-based companies are often lacking. What normally we see is there's a focus there on connectivity and access control without any regard to security. There is no true threat prevention, nothing that protects your application, nothing that protects your users, nothing that protects your data. When you're opening up remote access to your internal applications, normally those are applications that are not as hardened as your kind of consumer-faced applications, and you're opening them up to various scenarios like bring your own device, etc. You don't want to solely rely on authentication and just let users do whatever they want in the application. That's why we're combining with the Odo technology Check Point's entire security stack. And that's something that's going to happen over the next few months. And I think that's the key reason why people will look for our remote access solution. And will we end up competing with some of the SD-WAN vendors with whom we partner? Yes, but I don't think that their core business is the remote access. Their core business is really the SD-WAN edge devices, and we'll probably continue to be good partners with most of those guys. And what is there here? There's a question here. Any issues using this in China?
I think we had that question in the last webinar as well.
Yeah, okay. China's a big place.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be accessing Odo would simply be like accessing it's internet based where our proxies are located. So there shouldn't be any problem with that. From a POPs standpoint, we have points of presence in EU, US, and APAC. So that should be minimal latency. So the answer is no, there shouldn't be any problem.
I think we'll need to test regarding the Chinese firewall.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've tested that yet. If we do find we can, because everything's cloud-based, we can create presence very, very easily within China. So if you have a need and you're in China, then please approach us and we'll see what we need to do to address it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it should be very easy to make it work. Okay. I think we've gone through enough of these questions for today. There's just a lot of them. What we're going to do is we're going to capture the questions and we'll publish the answers on our and maybe send them later on. I'd like at this point to thank all of you very, very much for being with us today. We're just at the last minute of your time, so also going to respect your time this evening. Hope that to see you soon. We have quite a lot of people here who've already asked for a private demo. That's good. And hope to see you all soon. Thank you very much and have a great day. Thank you, Noah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Eitan.